A witch hunt against Netflix staff members and shock threats to the royal family. It wasn't going to take long before Meghan Markle started blaming others for the increasing disaster of the launch of With Love Meghan and As Ever. So let me take you through this new report from Radar Online, which is doing some really good work, actually, at the moment. They say a paranoid Meghan Markle is desperately trying to blame a crazy conspiracy theory for all of her recent personal and professional setbacks. RadarOnline.com can confirm. The Duchess of Sussex seems to be falling to the pressures of launching a new business, new Netflix program, and new lifestyle. It all seems to be taking its toll. As an insider revealed, everyone seems against her right now and she's paranoid. There's a concerted effort to make sure she flops. She doesn't trust anyone these days, even her handlers at Netflix. However, other sources exclusively told Radar the truth is much simpler. They said, there's no one setting her up. Her content is just crap. She is just trying to deflect blame for putting out a poor product. And Angela Levin, our royal mastermind, Prince Harry and Queen Camilla's biographer, joins me now. Angela, this is always the way, isn't it? With Meghan Markle, someone else is always to blame. And now this is almost sounding like Hillary Clinton in the 90s when she referred to a vast right-wing conspiracy. No, Meghan, you're just not a likable person, and even the left-wing media is turning off your nonsense.
Yeah, the thing is, she won't believe that she's not perfect. She won't believe that she's not better than anyone else. And she's global. She's got global influence. That's what she keeps on saying, and that's what she believes in. So that's why she doesn't improve. If she makes a mistake, she should then listen to what she's been told, do it if she felt that it actually is quite right, and then carry on. But she won't, because she can't believe that she's not perfect. And if she gets, Harry, you're wonderful, you're absolutely wonderful, and all the so-called friends that she invited, oh, you're so wonderful, so it goes to your head, and you actually believe that you are beyond being told anything that is a mistake. I mean, we all do mistakes. We all make mistakes. We can always sort of try and think, oh, God, I wish I hadn't done that, and then learn for the next one. But she doesn't. She thinks, well, someone else has done that. Someone else, it's an ailment, isn't it?
Meghan Markle is at it again. After the catastrophic failure of her Netflix show With Love Meghan, she's not blaming herself, she's blaming Netflix. According to a shocking Radar Online report, Meghan is convinced there's a conspiracy against her and is now launching a witch hunt to find out who's sabotaging her. You cannot make this up. And trust me, royal experts are not buying this. Angela Levin just destroyed Meghan's victim complex, saying she refuses to believe she's not perfect. And guess what? Even Hollywood is getting fed up with her excuses.
Well, it is. And not trusting Netflix is insanity, given that Netflix, Angela, is the only big company still prepared to pay for this nonsense, still prepared to go along with it. Now, you know my theory on this, Angela. I've done a lot of reporting on this. I believe Meghan formed that friendship with Ted Sarandos' mixed-race wife specifically to almost make it impossible for her to lose the job. Ted Sarandos, the co-chief executive of Netflix, very, very powerful man in charge of the purse strings, and seems to be prepared to keep on funding flops. But what we haven't seen, Angela, is any honesty. Because the renewal video that we just saw there, I mean, by the way, it was so cringe, wasn't it? Let us remain calm, talking like a lettuce and a romaine lettuce. I mean, just awful puns. But it wasn't honest, Angela. It wasn't that Netflix had renewed the series. It was just that they had broken up the series into two parts.
Well, they'd broken up some of the things that they couldn't, wasn't quite ready to go into this first one. So they kept it, but she's not done anything more. And also they might have done far more than they actually needed. So they got a bit left over. I could have told them what to take out and just do the one and make it much better. But it looks as if they didn't actually go for what was the best. They just went for each thing. terrible mistake. And yes, she does. She's very, very cunning, very, very clever. She does the same thing with the royal family and people she doesn't like, the press and all that, because she sort of hints at what she's saying. Her sentences are very carefully done, that she then says, like it was, telling her friend off that she's no longer Meghan, she's a Sussex, Meghan Markle, she's a Sussex. And she did that. That is hitting the royal family on their head, isn't it? But she did it very sort of carefully, so that no one could actually take her to court or punish her in any way. It's just a sentence. But actually, the more you listen to her, the more you realize that she's full of nonsense, absolutely full, and full of trying to win over someone else, like the king, like Catherine, like anybody, that she's won. And it's in a way that's very hard to hit her back with. Very subtle, very clever. But actually, if you listen to it a bit, you realize how awful she is about these things.
Okay, but Angela, can I just be clear, given this is Meghan's contention, is there any type of conspiracy theory against her? Are people trying to work against her in the entertainment industry?
Well, I think most people think she's no good, so they don't bother. I think it's all in her head. This is the same back going to her analysing things, that she's perfect. I mean, why hasn't she had one decent film to make or theatre to go on? I mean, nobody wants her. They're not trying to go away from her. She's not good enough, and they don't want her. I haven't heard of anyone who's trying to deliberately spoil her. They just don't think she's good. And because she's so demanding, you can't actually tell her what to do. As she knows how everything should be done, then even someone senior can't help it, because she always wins and she knows better. So in the end, they think, oh, well, I really can't deal with it. Or they leave. It's all the answers are there very clearly. And it's just because she won't listen to anything.
Let's start with this shocking report from Radar Online. They claim Meghan is now paranoid, convinced that there's a campaign to make her fail. She believes that Netflix staff are sabotaging her show and leaking negative press about her. It's really... A Netflix insider reportedly told Radar that Meghan doesn't trust anyone anymore, not even her own team. They said, and I quote, "She's desperately trying to deflect blame for putting out a poor product." And honestly, they nailed it. Because let's be real, no one is setting her up. Her content is just bad. Critics have called with love Meghan bland, artificial, and painfully out of touch. Viewers are not interested. And instead of owning up to it, Meghan is going on a full-blown witch hunt. I mean, who does she think she is? The queen of Netflix.
Indeed. Can I be honest about what I think this is, Angela? It's paranoid narcissism. Because if you think about it, she also thought there was a conspiracy against her in the royal family. There absolutely wasn't. The royal family wanted this to work for her. They wanted her to keep her own jobs, to keep her own life, to keep her happy. But because it didn't work out, all of a sudden there's a conspiracy. There's a great conspiracy. And of course, when it came to the royal family, it was all based on racism. So again, paranoid narcissism is, I believe, what leads to these constant witch hunts in her life, and never actually turning the microscope on herself and thinking, is there something I could have done better? Why did the team at Spotify call me an effing grifter? Did I not work hard enough for them? Did I bully staff members? And that's why they've now gone to speak off the record to the Hollywood Reporter. But no, just like Hillary Clinton, it's all a conspiracy. It's nothing to do with her.
Let me tell you a very quick story. 2
Please.
days after their wedding, I was invited to go to Prince Charles's birthday party. It starts in the summer and goes all the way through to winter because there's so many people, so many parties, right? I was invited and said, look, you're going to be thrilled to bits because Harry and Meghan have decided to come. They had an invitation, but they didn't want to come. At the beginning, they thought they'd be very tired. They're not very tired. They said, can I please come? Yes. And I said, I was told, get here quickly, Angela, because they say they don't want to stand on the prince's feet. They don't want to get under his, make him not the key one in this party. So they won't stay long, maybe half an hour, maybe 40 minutes. That's all. Okay, fine. They arrived. They're going around all this, very sweet. And then an aide went up and whispered in their ear. And they said, oh, yes. And they went to King, kissed him. They went to Camilla, kissed her, and off they went. And that's what they've used as the first time that they were absolutely not wanted by the royal family. It was not true. And they've used that every year. That's it. That's the clothing she wore. And that's when they were going. They were thrilled that they came just for 30 minutes because they thought it was very kind of them because, it was such an amazing day they'd had the day before. And they used that as they threw them out. They pushed them out. And I was standing right next to her, really, and she wasn't pushed out. Harry said, okay, we're off now, have a lovely time. So there was a lie right in front of me. And that's what they've used to attack the royals ever since.
Isn't that
Did you know
astonishing?
that one?
Isn't that astonishing? I did know that they had used that event to try and claim it was an example of the mistreatment, but I didn't know that you were there. And it's so fascinating to actually hear that it couldn't be further from the case. And it's the same thing here because Meghan is so stupid cutting ties with the people at Netflix. They are probably the only people in Hollywood in her corner now. Angela, they actually are the people who want it to work. But of course, she doesn't trust them. Now, Angela, I want to move on to this post on International Women's Day. I mean, lots of people were saying, again, this is another example of narcissism because 3 out of the 4 photos that Meghan pictured were actually of herself anyway. But you're very concerned, and actually there's been a lot of criticism over this picture, Angela, because they're actually breaking Californian law, you believe.
And folks, it gets even worse, because royal expert Angela Levin just exposed Meghan's toxic mindset. Angela says, and I quote, "This is always the way with Meghan Markle. Someone else is always to blame. She refuses to accept that she's just not likable anymore." Ouch. And you know what? He's absolutely right. Meghan has spent years playing the victim, acting like the world is out to get her. But now, even left-wing media who used to defend her are turning on her. And that tells you everything you need to know. Angela also points out that Meghan never learns from her mistakes because she truly believes she's above criticism. And let's be real, if she actually listened to feedback, maybe her projects wouldn't keep flopping.
No, not I believe, I know, yes. They're in a boat, and there's this little girl, age 3, she looks as if she's 3, and Harry's just holding her. Now, she could just jump up, she could push him, and she could jump into the water, and she didn't have anything to protect her. And that's not allowed. Up to the age of 13, you have to wear, proper things on you so that you are protected. And if you did fall in the water, you would just bounce. So they spend a load of time going around telling us what we can do, what we can't do, what we can go in an airplane, we can't listen to anything on social media. They're telling us all what to do, but yet they're breaking the law themselves. And it's with a small child. A child can just jump at any time, get very excited. Oh, look, there's a fish, and, stand up. So it is absolutely not only dangerous to themselves and their little girl, but actually a ridiculous way to behave and breaking the rule. In California, it's a strong rule that mustn't do that.
Yeah, indeed. And it is very much against the law in California, but they won't care, do they? Because, Angela, they believe they're above the law, the official law, and actually the moral law. But, Angela, Dr. Max Pemberton in the Daily Mail is actually going on a similar theme here. So he says her TV show is full of shallow, toxic positivity. Here's why I believe Meghan is sending a damaging message to mums. And there's a whole big column about this, but I'll just read out, Angela, one of the segments of his analysis. He says, as amusing and unrealistic as the series is, I do worry about how it may make some parents feel. There will be some looking at the endless crudités, charcuterie boards, and bespoke party bags and wondering whether they are letting their children down by not providing something similar. Let me tell you, you are not. No child cares about this stuff. It's competitive and performative parenting, plain and simple. Give kids a ball and put them in the garden and they'll be fine. Every episode smacked of the kind of shallow, toxic positivity we see on Instagram. I watched very much feeling as though Meghan was trying too hard to convince me that everything is fine in her world. In fact, more than fine, amazing, as she repeatedly puts it, joyful, wholesome. But do you agree with this medical professional suggesting actually Meghan's TV show is quite toxic and damaging for mothers?
Yes, I do think that. I mean, you know, she took her friend Mindley Kaling,
Yes.
and she was talking to her about parties and asked her, you know, did she like what she'd done? And she said, I don't know. I go out, the woman I hire gets it all for me. So there we are. That sort of rich woman would not actually want to know how to do all those little flowery things and make things. They just have someone to do it there. So it's I don't think it's necessarily embarrassing there, but it's ludicrous because what a waste of time. And women don't want to spend hours doing that. Yes, and she's got no thought about it. I bet you for her babies, she doesn't actually do it all. She'll get someone else to do it. That's what they do. It's a lot.
At this point, even Netflix must be wondering, what have we gotten ourselves into? Now here's where things get really interesting, because if Meghan keeps blaming Netflix, could they be the next company to drop her? Let's not forget, Spotify already cancelled Meghan after just one season. Executives reportedly called her difficult and not worth the hassle. So how long until Netflix realizes they've made the same mistake? Spotify deal? Cancelled. Netflix animated series? Cancelled. Her Netflix docuseries? Lost millions of viewers after the first few episodes. No. With love, Meghan is a disaster.
Well, Angela, we didn't see her blow up the balloons, for example.
Good.
And I'm pretty certain if she had, we would have seen it. See what I'm saying?
Yes, I know exactly what you're saying. Yes, yes.
But there are a whole load of lies, Angela, a whole load of lies, which are just unraveling. I mean, look, we saw one, and this was a funny moment, wasn't it, Angela? Because she tried to make out that, you know, a balloon pump was some type of crazy invention. But look, there are a lot of lies emerging, and obviously one of the most toxic, Angela, involves Meghan's childhood. And we've seen Thomas Markle, who hasn't watched the whole series, but has been told about all of the key points and is especially upset about two aspects, Angela. Firstly, that she's walked away from the Markle surname to become Meghan Sussex, so she claims.
I think that's silly, actually, because most women change their name when they marry.
Yeah.
I didn't feel for that one. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
No, please.
I thought that was a silly one because 9 out of 10 women actually change their name. It doesn't mean they've given up.
No, that is true. And then the second aspect that he's very upset by is this whole idea that she was a latchkey kid, that she was just eating like terrible food and takeaways and, you know, trying to paint out her upbringing. And remember, for all of her teenage years, it was her father, Thomas, who was effectively the sole caregiver as Doria went and did her thing, so to speak. But Inside Edition, and an interview that Meghan did actually before she was famous, is able to prove that she was lying on the Netflix series. I've cut them together, Angela, so you can compare and contrast, and I'll get your reaction off the bat. So, Angela, completely contrasting in terms of her stories, because in the Inside Edition clip, she's saying actually during her childhood, she was eating farm to fresh food.
Yeah, well, she's a liar, isn't it? It's just, I don't know. If you have bits of her life that we know while she's around, everything is a lie about the royals, about different friends, about anything. A school she went to, she just is. She can't help but be a liar and to be a victim. So she's a double sufferer. And it's actually extraordinary. And nobody stops her. They let her sort of dream away with all these horrible, nasty things that she wants to put everyone out. And it is terrible. I know that the royal family welcomed her with open arms and were very, very keen that she'd join them. Genuinely, I had discussions about it. And she's turned them into sort of a horrible family who want to get rid of her, which they didn't at the beginning.
No, indeed, indeed. So it just feels like there's a lot of lies which just constantly being exposed. The other lie, I think, Angela, is that Meghan actually cares so much about the first responders. Remember, when it was sort of advantageous for her to do so in terms of publicity, or so she thought, she was all over the Californian wildfires effort. Now she can't even be bothered to show up on Prince Harry's arms to charity events. He did show, Angela, to the 1805 Rock for Responders benefits at the Granada Theatre in Santa Barbara, where he chatted with first responders. Now, look, whether he's doing it for PR purposes, who knows? But how fascinating that we've gone immediately, as soon as the show has launched, we've gone back to Meghan just doing her own thing, not bothering to show up.
So here's the question. Will Netflix continue to put up with Meghan's paranoia and excuses, or will they be the next company to quietly walk away? Because right now, it's not looking good for her. And let's be honest, if Netflix does drop her, Meghan is done in Hollywood. There will be no more big contracts, no more second chances. This is her last shot. And now let's talk about the bigger picture, because Meghan's reputation is going up in flames. Radar Online says Meghan is in full meltdown mode, convinced that Netflix staff, the media, and even former friends are out to get her. But here's the thing, when everyone is out to get you, maybe the problem isn't them, maybe it's you. Even major Hollywood insiders are rolling their eyes at Meghan's constant blame game. They see through her act. They know she's not the global icon she pretends to be. No, they're distancing themselves fast. And honestly, who can blame them? Because Meghan isn't acting like a serious professional. She's acting like a D-list reality star throwing tantrums when things don't go her way.
Well, I don't think she got a good enough praise there. I think she was embarrassed by the fact they said, she was walking over what could have been someone's house or could have been someone who was dead. I think she's got a very good way of cutting it off. Boom, gone. And then she moves on to something else. She excuses herself in her own way, which means somebody else said something and she didn't know. But she tries things, and then she doesn't care. She hasn't really got a heart to really care and to do something that is very important. I mean, she just will get out of it. And I think that she's been so excited about her, I don't know what she calls cooking, but I don't, that she had to stay there. And Harry obviously was hovering around all the time, waiting when he was allowed in, and just went off to actually cheer people up a bit. Probably did.
Indeed, indeed. Now, Angela, can we just have one moment? I describe it as the palate cleanse, to talk about the real royals. And we have to take a moment for Catherine, the Princess of Wales, at this Commonwealth Day service yesterday. Now, look, we know that she had really struggled trying to attend events when she was still going through her cancer treatment. But now that she's in remission, any fears that she wasn't going to glow and sparkle and be such a big presence on the public stage for the royal family have long been dissipated. Likewise, that really awful criticism, Angela, that, she's only ever going to wear really dull outfits and dark colours, because just look at her at this service. I mean, she truly is shining brighter than ever. And I just think people are quite right to be delighted about this after everything she's gone through over the past year.
She looks absolutely wonderful, and she's absolutely gorgeous to look at. Her necklace fits just perfectly at the top. She's full of smiles for her husband, who's as excited as she is that she is there. And that red is very strong. You know, it's not trying to take a second line. You know, this is, I am here, I am strong, and I'm very happy and positive. And that's what she's doing. And I think that that's just right. It's got a sort of strength, hasn't it? That sort of colour, gorgeous colour. And Camilla in her pink was very sort of quiet and didn't want to make too much fuss. I think women are very careful about the colours that they wear. We saw that with Meghan, you know. And I think that for Catherine, it was very positive, and that's very, very nice.
Yes, indeed. And Angela, a lot of people talking about this quite unfortunate side by side. Catherine,
Oh gosh, well,
the Princess of Wales, and Angela Rayner, who, for folk who don't know, is the Deputy Prime Minister of the United Kingdom. Someone quite nastily put it, Angela, Catherine was dressed by Catherine Walker. Angela Rayner was dressed by Timu. But at least she tried, right? At least she tried. Maybe just slightly unfortunate that she was in almost exactly the same tone as Catherine.
So let's break it all down. Meghan Markle's Netflix show is a total failure. And instead of taking responsibility, she's launching a full-blown witch hunt against Netflix staff. Radar Online reports Meghan is in a paranoid meltdown. She thinks Netflix is sabotaging her. Angela Levin destroys Meghan's victim complex. She thinks she's perfect and never learns. Even left-wing media is turning on Meghan. Hollywood is done with her excuses. Is Netflix finally losing patience with Meghan? Will they be the next to drop her? At this point, Meghan's career is hanging by a thread. And the question is, will she finally take accountability, or will she just keep blaming everyone around her?
No, but I thought that it was, she just looks terrible. Whatever she wears, she doesn't look good.
Good, well, I'm glad you said it because I was trying to be slightly kind.
Yeah, woman to woman. She doesn't look good in what she wears. And I thought that she looked terrible. And with Catherine nearby, she looked as if she'd got it off the, you know, some sort of third-rate place that to wear. She looks absolutely terrible, and it doesn't suit her. Well, that's a little floral bit on the top.
You can't buy class. You can't buy class. But wow, it was quite a day for Catherine. Of course, we do realise how, I guess, low stocked the senior royal family is, because aside from the King, the Queen, the Princess of Wales, there was Princess Anne, and then the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, who are hardly big names. But I guess when you've got Catherine there putting on such a show, all is okay. Now, Angela, you have news, though, on the King. I was quite surprised by this, to be honest. Buying another house?
Yes. Well, it actually makes sense when you know the detail. He bought a new house for £3 million next door to Camilla's. She's got a house in Raymill in Wiltshire because she did that as soon as they really got together, which might sound wrong, but it's actually quite right. She wanted a place she could go back to if it was all too much. She wasn't used to have aides around her and to be busy so much. And also for her children, she wanted somewhere where she cooked for them in an normal way, and actually they could be together without making a lot of noise, because Charles didn't like children making a lot of noise if he was working. And so that's what he did. And unfortunately, it was bought and altered to become a wedding venue. And it was going to be extremely noisy and unpleasant. And she got quite anxious about having people there that nobody knew right next door. And so in comes the loving man and buys it. And so now that's not going to happen at all. They're going to rent it off. He's not going to live there, but it would be someone who would, they could trust. And she needn't worry. I mean, I think anyone would worry if they had a big house next to them where people are dancing and playing and having a lot of fun. And if they knew it was her house next door, well, there's going to be some people who would be banging on the door or throwing things over. You know, it's just how life is. So I think it was jolly good of him that he did that and pleased her. And I think he'd do anything in the world to please her, actually, and ditto for her. So it's done. He just did it before all the things were signed. So it's very nice of him, I think.
And can I just stress, this was private funds that King Charles was spending. So it was his money, not our money. So I guess I'm okay with that.
So now the big question. Is Meghan Markle's paranoia a sign that her career is over? Will Netflix drop her next? And is this the final proof that even Hollywood is done with her? Let me know in the comments.